Hi, I'm Debbie Harbeck, and I'm a certified life coach working with women in midlife and through the menopause transition. So each week, I'll be sharing the latest information, inspiration, and generate some momentum so you can move forward and feel more in control of your changing midlife body and your life. Let's go. Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm sorry if my voice might be a little off. I seem to be losing my voice a little bit, but bear with me. It should be all right. I feel okay. But today I want to dive into an important question because it's been a very relevant question in my life recently. And it's to know when we should push through pain and when we should stop or slow down. So this is a question that comes up a lot. How do we know the difference? And as women in perimenopause and menopause, like we are, our bodies and minds are going through so many changes. And it can be really confusing to know when it's just discomfort and part of the process, or when it's a warning sign to kind of back off or slow down. So this applies to physical pain, of course, like during our workouts or during what we're doing daily, but it can also apply to emotional pain. And I'm going to address both in the podcast today. Sometimes we need to move through hard things in order to grow, and other times we need to give ourselves permission to rest and recover. And I know a lot of us are not great at doing that. So today I'm going to break it all down. I'm going to tell you how to tell the difference, what signs to look for, and how to tune into your body and mind when you really need to. But first, I want to share my story with you and the reason I'm bringing this issue to the podcast today. So 2.5 years ago, I was running. I was regularly running a few times a week because I love to run. I'm one of those people. I like to go for a run. It was kind of my solace, my sweet spot. I would run with friends too, which was great. But there was one run in particular 2.5 years ago where I felt like this sharpish pain in my hip and I had to walk the rest of the way. Now, I've been running for about 2 decades and I've been through aches and pains over the years. I'm not a stranger to pain and aches and all of that stuff. And usually they'd pass within a couple of days, but this one was persistent. I mean, I could walk, but every time I would try running, I would either feel pain during the run, but more commonly, I'd feel the pain for the days afterwards. And the problem was not really as much the pain itself, but the fact that it was keeping me up at night. And really, that was the final straw. That was when I knew I had to get help because I wasn't sleeping. So I discovered through an x-ray at the time that I had osteoarthritis in my hip, actually severe osteoarthritis, which I couldn't believe. And of course, that wasn't good news. But I still felt there were things I could do to help myself feel better, and most importantly, help myself to sleep. So over the past couple of years, I've tried many modalities. I've tried physio, I've tried acupuncture, I've been to a massage therapist, I've seen a couple of osteopaths, and of course, I've been practicing and teaching yoga this whole time as well. And I also stopped running, so haven't been running for over 2 years, and I started swimming and weight training, which have been really good additions to my life for mental and physical reasons. But over all this time, the pain didn't get better. Although I do believe that with everything that I've done, I've probably slowed the progression somewhat, but osteoarthritis is a progressive condition. So in the past month, it got worse. And it got worse because not only was I feeling the pain in my hip, but I was feeling nerve pain. So pain in different parts of my leg. And although this was happening from time to time over the past couple of years, it began to get constant. It was there all the time. And so I really wasn't sleeping. So I went back to the doctor a couple of weeks ago. She ordered an updated x-ray and an MRI just for the nerves to see what was going on there. And she prescribed medication for the nerve pain and a cortisone shot for the hip. So I'm not anti-medication, but I've always preferred not to take it if I could avoid it. But honestly, I had to give in here because I needed to sleep. And because I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't able to really focus on my work, on my day-to-day life, which if you've been in pain ever, you know this is really challenging. So I took it. I've taken the nerve pain medication and it's actually started to help. And I took the cortisone shot and that's actually started to help. So I know this pain relief is probably temporary. I know that I might be facing a hip replacement in my future, but all this to say is that I'm not suffering anymore. And suffering really isn't worth it. It can deteriorate not only your body, but it can cause you to isolate and just deteriorate your whole emotional health. So I'm really glad I've gotten relief and that I recognize that I was in pain and that wasn't just something I should push through. And at the same time, I know it's probably more important right now to keep moving and to eat healthy foods that include protein and fat and fiber and to reduce the stress in my life. And yes, to sleep at last. So if you're not sleeping, none of the other things will happen. It's really the most important thing. So enough about me, enough about that. Let's just get into the topic of pain today and when to know if you should push through or if you need to stop and evaluate. So here we go. First, let's talk about the difference between discomfort and pain. Discomfort is normal. It's what you feel when you're pushing yourself, like when you learn something new or you step outside your comfort zone, either physically, mentally, or emotionally. And it might feel a little like, this is not comfortable. I don't like it, but it's manageable. So for example, it can include things like feeling your muscles burn during a workout. That's discomfort. Or having an uncomfortable conversation you've been avoiding. That is discomfort. Or trying something new and feeling nervous. That's all uncomfortable. But pain, on the other hand, is a signal. It's your body or mind saying, something isn't right. Pay attention. So some examples of pain are a sharp stabbing pain, like in your knee when you're exercising, or emotional distress that leaves you feeling exhausted and unable to function, or just a persistent ache that doesn't go away. And that can be, again, physical, emotional, or both. So all these three things were what actually I was experiencing with my hip and how I knew I needed to evaluate what I was doing and really get help. So we all need to learn and recognize these signals so we can respond in the best ways for our bodies and for our minds. Let's look at physical pain first. So it's okay to push through physical pain sometimes. It is. One of those times is when you're feeling maybe mild muscle soreness. Now, you're not going to push through it, but if your body is adapting to movement or if you've just started an exercise program or just started exercising at all, you know that soreness can last for 24 to 48 hours. And you need to listen to that and wait those 48 hours or so for your muscles to repair and recover. This is very normal. So after that time, you can just get back to what you're doing. So that's just normal discomfort. Another thing you may feel is stiffness that actually gets better when you move. So this can actually be a sign that you actually need to keep moving. So don't look at stiffness as something that means you need to sit more or lie down. Maybe it actually goes away when you move. That's really important. And another thing is like when you feel breathless from effort, right? Like this is normal during cardio, as long as it settles when you're at rest. I know from experience that if you haven't done exercise in a while, this can feel concerning when you feel breathless from effort. But if you stop and your heart rate returns to normal, you know this is just part of your heart doing its job. It's what it's supposed to do. But beyond discomfort, there are times that you need to stop or slow down. So signs of real pain are things like a sharp stabbing or sudden pain. And you know this is not the kind of discomfort to push through, like with me having to stop and walk, or a pain that gets worse as you move. So if it's not improving, then it's more than just discomfort. Or if you have swelling, bruising, or you feel unstable or shaky, this can actually be maybe an injury that is telling you need to take some rest or go get some help. Or if you have chronic pain that has lingered for days or even longer. So this may mean something deeper is going on. Again, it's to be paid attention to. Now, As we go through perimenopause and menopause, lower estrogen levels, and you've heard me say this on the podcast, they can lead to things like joint pain, longer recovery times, and actually an increased risk of injury. And that's why listening to your body and giving yourself time to recover is more important than ever. Get to know when it's just simply discomfort or if it's really pain. And of course, pain isn't just a physical thing. We all experience emotional pain from time to time as well. But how do you know if you can move through emotional pain or if you should get support? So here's what we know about emotional pain. It's okay to keep going if your emotional pain is just a resistance to a change that's happening in your life. And usually that's a sign we need to learn and grow from the situation. So if you're resisting a change in your job or in your relationship or your routine, or those changes that menopause can bring in your body, then it may be time to learn some new skills and some acceptance, and it's an opportunity to grow. So that's one case where it's okay to feel uncomfortable. Another case is when you feel like a temporary sadness or a frustration. So emotions are a normal human thing, right? It's normal to have feelings that come and go. And as long as they don't persist, you're just living the normal human experience. That includes a whole spectrum of emotions. If you don't know what all the emotions are, I would suggest you go get Brené Brown's book. It's called Atlas of the Heart, and it's just got all the emotions in it, and she really describes them really well. So another way we might be feeling discomfort sometimes is when we're fearing something, especially failure. A lot of us fear failure from time to time. And that's usually actually a sign we should move forward and we should step outside our comfort zone. We may need to take maybe smaller steps, but a fear of failure isn't a reason to stop or turn around, right? Now, there are times when your emotional pain may be persistent or overwhelming or affecting your daily life, and that's really a sign to slow down or get help. So, for example, if you are feeling sadness or anxiety or just a numbness that won't go away, that's a time to get help. Or if you're feeling overwhelmed that is keeping you stuck and you can't take action for a period of time, then again, you need some help here. Or if you're feeling physical symptoms of emotional distress, and that can be things like insomnia, exhaustion, or even digestive issues, this is also something you need to get help with. And of course, with perimenopause and menopause, hormonal shifts can intensify the emotional ups and downs, right? And it's not just in your head. It's a real physiological, psychological change. And this is when you need to practice some radical compassion. And there's a really great book called Radical Compassion by Tara Brach. And I'll share it with you in the show notes, a link to where you can get it, where she shares some practical ways to radically care for yourself. So that's just an aside. And you may also need to seek help in the form of a psychotherapist or a coach or a healer that resonates with you. So finding your people is really important. There are some tools too available to know if you're experiencing just discomfort or if it's actual pain and you need to really look at it. So the first tool you can use is really simple. It's the 1 to 10 scale, where 0 would be like totally relaxed and comfortable. And if you're 1 to 3, you'd be feeling mildly discomforted. Or between 4 and 6, you're feeling moderate pain. And 7 to 10 would be more like severe discomfort or pain. And I would say if your pain is above 5 and it's getting worse, it's time to really slow down and really connect with yourself and find out what's going on and get help if you need to. There's also the next day test. So that means if you feel soreness and it feels better the next day, you're probably all right. Or as I mentioned, that could be the next 2-day test, because it could take 48 hours for muscle pain to start getting better if you've just started working out or tried a new workout program. If you do, though, start feeling worse, you need to adjust and get some help. Now, a great tool that I suggest you use for emotional discomfort or pain is a journal, because it's a chance to write out your emotions. You get them out of your head and onto a physical piece of paper. It's actually very cathartic. and you'll get to know what's going on. So if it's just a passing frustration, you can probably move through it. But if it keeps showing up in your journal day after day, you might need to really pay attention to it. It could be a lot deeper. And finally, there are some great mind-body practices that I love because I do love yoga, which is one of them. Breath work is fantastic. So just breathing, focusing on your breath, meditation, of course. All of these practices that can help you tune into your body and recognize then, because when you tune into your body, it means you get quiet and you can actually notice what is going on, and you can notice a message that your body might be trying to share with you. So these practices are crucial, I think, all the time. And the truth is, when to push through and when to slow down, that's a skill. It takes practice. I like to say that your body is a fantastic barometer, and it's always giving you signals. And the more you stop and tune in, the more you'll know exactly what you'll need, whether it's pushing through discomfort, because that might be exactly what you need, or maybe it's about giving yourself the rest and care you deserve. So if any of this resonated with you, and I hope it did, and maybe you want more guidance on navigating all of this, if you're feeling discomfort, if you want to push through it, or if it is pain, and perhaps I can help. So I'd love to support you and have a conversation with you about it. You can look in the show notes. There's always a link to hop on a call with me. I have a coaching program that helps my clients with what is going on in perimenopause and menopause, the discomforts and the pains, so that they can really tune into their changing bodies, they can move through it, they can get stronger and just feel more confident in themselves and their future. So I would really love to talk to you about that. And in the meantime, I just want to thank you for choosing to listen to this episode, to listen to me talk today. And I hope you keep honoring what you need. Next week, I'll be back with a brand new episode. So in the meantime, keep moving forward, and bye for now. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Midlife Momentum Podcast. If you want to learn more about working with me, come visit me at debbieharbeckcoaching.com. That's Debbie, I-E, Harbeck with a C, coaching.com. See you next week.